Okay, so today we're diving into something that I know a lot of our listeners struggle with, and that is thinking in English.
Yeah,
How to actually make that transition from, your native language to thinking in English so that you can speak more fluently.
absolutely. And, you know, we all know that translating in your head can really slow you down, right?
Yeah, yeah.
It just doesn't sound as natural when you're constantly going back and forth between
Right.
two different languages in your mind.
It's like there's this extra step
Exactly.
happening.
Yeah. And what we really want is for you to feel like you can express yourself naturally and effortlessly in English.
Yeah, yeah, just to have those thoughts flowing.
Exactly.
So to help us with this, we're looking at some advice from Education Tips,
Mm.
featuring English teachers Charles Thomas and Andrew Hinshaw.
Yeah, they've got some really great insights on this.
Yeah, and they actually recommend starting really small
Mm-hmm.
with just thinking in single words.
Right. It sounds simple,
Yeah.
but it's actually a really powerful starting point.
Yep.
Because it's all about building those direct connections in your brain
Mhm.
between the things you see around you and their English names.
Oh, so it's like building those foundational blocks.
Exactly. It's like when you're a kid and you first learn language,
Hmm.
you're not translating.
Right.
You're just making those direct associations.
Oh, that makes sense.
So that's what we're trying to recreate here.
So how do we actually do that?
Well, Charles Thomas says, and I'm quoting here, as you continue with this, it becomes more of a habit. So things are going to pop up into your head, computer, telephone, chair, desk, whatever it is, wherever you are.
So he's saying, like, look around you right now and just name things.
Exactly, and do it everywhere you go.
Oh, okay.
Like if you're waiting in line at the store,
Yeah.
start naming the things you see.
Got it.
If you're on the bus, name the things you see out the window. Just make it a habit.
Okay, so just being mindful of the objects around you and naming them in English?
Exactly.
Okay, that's a good starting point.
Yeah. And then Thomas also suggests kind of a natural progression. So you start with nouns, right? Just the names of things.
Mm-hmm.
But then as that becomes easier, you can start adding in verbs.
Oh, okay, so like actions.
Right. So instead of just thinking door, you might think open door or closed door.
Oh, I see.
You're starting to build those little phrases in your mind.
Okay, so starting with those single words and then moving on to simple phrases.
Exactly. And you can even incorporate this into your routine at home.
Okay, how so?
Well, when you wake up in the morning, just take a few minutes to look around your room and name everything you see in English.
Oh, okay.
And then do the same thing before you go to sleep at night.
Oh, that's a good idea. I like that.
Yeah, it's a nice way to kind of bookend your day with some English thinking.
Yeah, and it's like those are times when you're not really doing anything else.
Exactly.
So you can just focus on that.
Yeah, and Andrew Hinshaw, he actually saw this work really well with his students in Vietnam.
Oh, really?
He had them put labels on everything in their rooms, like a sticker on the bed that said bed, a sticker on the desk that said desk.
Oh, wow. So it was like a really visual reminder.
Exactly. It helped those English words really stick in their minds.
That's so interesting. I've never thought about doing that, but that's such a good idea.
Yeah, it really highlights that connection between the physical object and the English word.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, once you feel comfortable with those single words, maybe some simple phrases, then we can move on to the next step.
Okay, what's next?
Well, it's all about expanding your vocabulary, but not in the traditional way.
Okay, what do you mean?
So instead of just memorizing lists of words, the goal here is to describe things that you don't know the English word for.
Oh, so like if I don't know how to say something in English,
Yeah,
I should try to describe it using other English words that I do know.
Exactly. You're basically challenging yourself to explain it using the English you already have.
Okay, I think I understand, but can you give me an example?
Sure. So Charles Thomas uses the example of the word garage.
Okay.
So let's say you're looking at your house and you see your garage, but you can't remember the word garage in English.
Yeah. Instead of immediately trying to translate it from your native language, you would think something like, the place inside where I put my car, or it's next to my house, I keep things there.
So you're like describing it.
Exactly. You're using what we call circumlocution, which is a fancy way of saying you're talking around the word.
Oh, I see.
And it's a really important skill in language learning because it forces you to think creatively and use the language you do know.
That makes sense.
And you don't have to make these long, complicated descriptions either.
Okay.
Thomas also recommends using short, descriptive phrases like, it's similar to, or it's the opposite of.
Oh, okay. So like it's similar to a shed, but bigger?
Exactly. Those kinds of phrases can really help you get your point across.
Okay. And so by doing this, we're kind of strengthening our existing vocabulary.
Exactly. And you're training your brain to think in English even when you don't know the exact word.
Right, right.
And what's really interesting is that Andrew Hinshaw uses this technique himself when he's learning Spanish.
Oh, wow. So it's not just for English learners, right? It's a really valuable strategy for anyone learning a new language
I like that.
because it really forces you to engage with the language actively.
Yeah, it's not passive learning.
Exactly.
So we've gone from single words to describing objects.
Mm-hmm.
What's the next step in this journey of thinking in English?
Well, now we want to start connecting those words into sentences.
Okay.
So the next exercise is all about thinking in simple English sentences.
Okay, so like full thoughts.
Right. So instead of just thinking individual words,
Right.
you're going to start forming basic sentences in your mind about what you're doing or what you're seeing around you.
Okay, I think I get it, but can you give me an example?
Sure. Imagine you're at the park.
Okay.
Instead of just thinking the word park or translating a sentence from your native language, try to form a simple English sentence like, it's a beautiful day, or people are playing sports with their friends.
Just keeping it really simple.
Exactly. Just focus on getting those basic sentences to flow naturally in your mind.
Okay, and then what?
Well, once you feel comfortable with simple sentences, you can start to make them more complex.
Oh, so like gradually increasing the difficulty.
Exactly. It's
Yeah.
all about building up your skills gradually.
Makes sense.
And Hinshaw actually uses this technique to prepare for conversations in Spanish.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he'll mentally rehearse things he might want to say just by forming those simple sentences in his head.
Wow, so he's like practicing in his mind.
Exactly. And he says that at first he's not even worried about perfect grammar.
Oh, really?
Yeah, his main focus is just on getting those words to come together in Spanish.
That's really interesting.
Yeah, it's about breaking free from that need for everything to be perfect right away.
Yeah, just getting the thoughts out there.
Exactly.
I like that.
So now we're thinking in sentences,
Right.
but how do we make this even more relevant to our everyday lives?
Yeah, how do we actually apply this?
Well, this is where the exercise of narrating your day comes in.
Narrating my day.
Yeah, basically, you're going to describe your actions and plans to yourself in English as you go about your day.
Oh, okay, so like talking to myself in English.
Well, not necessarily out loud, but yeah, you're basically thinking in English about what you're doing.
Okay.
And Thomas suggests that beginners start with the simple present tense.
Okay.
So as you're getting ready in the morning, you might think to yourself, I put on my shirt,
Yep.
I brush my teeth.
Oh, I see.
Or if you see someone else, you might think, he drives the bus.
So just simple descriptions of what's happening.
Exactly. Just getting used to that constant stream of English in your mind.
Okay. And what about for people who are a little bit more advanced?
Well, they can try mentally outlining their plans for the day using future tenses.
Oh, so like planning my day in English?
Exactly. So you might think something like, when I leave the house, I'm going to get a coffee. Then I'll take the train to work. I have a meeting at 10 a.m.
Oh, so I'm like mentally rehearsing my day in English?
Exactly. And this is great practice for thinking ahead and using different tenses.
Yeah, it's like I'm preparing myself for the day.
Exactly.
I like that.
So we're thinking about our actions and our plans.
Mhm.
But of course, a huge part of language learning is being able to have conversations.
Absolutely.
So how do we start preparing our minds for that?
Yeah, that's a big one.
Well, this is where we get to the more advanced exercise of thinking in conversation.
Okay, thinking in conversation.
Yeah, so this is all about imagining yourself having a conversation with someone in English.
Okay.
So you're not just thinking about what you want to say, but you're also thinking about what the other person might say and how you would respond.
So it's like a mental role play.
Exactly. It's like having a conversation in your head.
Okay, so what kind of conversation should I imagine?
Well, to give the example of imagining someone asking you, what did you think of the award show last night?
Oh, okay.
And then you would think about how you would answer that in English. What vocabulary would you use? What details would you include?
So it's like practicing for a real conversation.
Exactly. And you can do this silently in your head, or you could even say the words out loud, if that helps you.
Okay. And the goal is to just get more comfortable with that back and forth.
Exactly. And it can really help you build confidence for real conversations.
Yeah, because you're kind of practicing those responses in advance.
Exactly. So you're not caught off guard when someone asks you something unexpected.
I like that. That's a really good tip.
So we've covered a lot of ground here.
We have.
But there's one more important thing to keep in mind.
Okay, what's that?
It's all about taking notes.
Notes.
Yeah, as you're doing all these mental exercises, you're going to come across words and phrases that you don't know.
Oh, right.
So it's important to make a mental note of those and then look them up later.
Okay, so like if I'm mentally describing my day and I realize I don't know the word for coffee maker.
Exactly. You would just make a mental note of that, and then later you would look it up in a dictionary.
And they recommend using an English-to-English dictionary, right?
Yes, if your English level is high enough,
Mm-hmm.
it's really helpful to use an English-to-English dictionary because it helps you understand the nuances of meaning.
Right, instead of just relying on a direct translation.
Exactly.
That makes sense.
And Hinshaw recommends focusing on just a few new words or phrases each day, maybe 5 to 10.
Okay, so not overwhelming myself.
Right, just pick a few that you really want to learn and focus on those.
Okay.
And he also suggests keeping a notebook where you write down the new words and phrases along with the context in which you learned them.
Oh, that's a good idea.
It really helps you remember them better because you're associating them with the specific situation.
Yeah, I like that.
So it's all about creating those strong memory links.
So we've talked about all these different techniques, but how much time should someone be spending on this each day to really see results?
Well, the most important thing is consistency.
Okay.
Charles Thomas really emphasizes that.
Okay.
He says, so when you're doing it every day over and over again, little by little, that's the key. Because when you make things a habit, then it just pops up into your mind without thinking, and then before you know it, really, you're thinking in English.
So it's about making it a daily habit.
Exactly. Even if it's just for a few minutes each day, that consistent effort is what's going to make the biggest difference.
So it's like training your brain.
Exactly.
Okay, so to recap, we talked about starting with single words, then describing unknown words, then building fluency with simple sentences, narrating our day, and thinking in conversation.
Exactly. Those are all great exercises to help you start thinking in English.
And as our experts have pointed out, it's definitely achievable.
Yes, it takes effort and practice.
But it's something that you can do.
Absolutely. And the rewards are huge.
So here's a final thought for you to consider.
Okay.
What's one opportunity you have in the next few hours to try one of these techniques? Maybe you're about to make dinner and you can mentally name all the ingredients in English.
Yep.
Or maybe you're going for a walk and you can describe the things you see in simple sentences.
Good examples.
Just pick one small thing and give it a try.
You might be surprised at how much it helps.
Yeah, it's all about taking those small steps towards fluency. Okay, well, that's all the time we have for today's deep dive.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
It was great talking about this.
Yeah, this was a really good one.
I hope it was helpful for our listeners.
Me too.
Until next time.